Welcome to Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer, where we talk all things dairy sheep, from breeding to lambing to milking and everything in between and outside. I'm your host Becca, owner, operator, and glorified farmhand of Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. Welcome back, guys, to another day of dairy sheep, and oh my gosh, I have on the podcast today one of my very good friends, Candice Christensen, and we talked dairy sheep and a bunch of other stuff. And I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as we enjoyed just sitting down and talking. And it's, you know, when you talk with one of your friends that you don't get to talk to very often and you just talk about all those random things, that was kind of what we did. And we had so much fun. And I just hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed doing it. So, without further ado, enjoy.
Candice, thank you so much for being here today.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you decided to join me. It's almost a struggle to get people to talk about dairy sheep because there are not that many out there. Even though, I mean, you're on a bunch of Facebook groups, same with me, that have like a ton of dairy people, but they're like, oh no, I only have one or two. I don't know much.
Mm-hmm. And then when you talk to other people about dairy sheep, they're like, I didn't know you could milk sheep. I get that all
the time.
And it's so funny because sheep and goats are so similar in structure and size. And some people confuse them for one another, but they're still like, can you milk sheep?
Right.
But if you say goats, people are like, oh yeah, you can milk goats. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
of course. Yeah. Goats are everywhere.
That's one of the surprising things getting into it that I didn't really see coming. You know what I mean?
Right. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself and your farm?
Okay. So
or homestead.
Yeah. My name is Candice Christensen. We have a homestead that we kind of farm, we kind of homestead. We do it mainly for us. So we've got some Dexter cattle. We have sheep. We have a dairy line and a meat line, but that can go back and forth. We've got a couple of goats and meat rabbits, chickens, all the cats that roam about, you know what I mean? So we're kind of a zoo is what we are.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with, you put on there my background. I don't have any background in farming. My husband grew up a potato farmer. I grew up in the city always. And there were definitely some people that were like, oh, I'm so surprised you got into animals and stuff. And my mom's like, I'm not, because I was the kid who wanted like pigs and frogs and a tiger, and like I had to have animals all the time. And she's like, no, my dad bought, I think I was 10, and he bought a side of beef, but he said when he came home, hey, we got a cow. And I was like, all my dreams have come true. We got a cow. And then I realized it was in the freezer and I lost it. Like,
yeah.
My hopes were dashed. I was like, I was ready. I was ready for a cow. That's not even what I asked for, but I was ready. I was ready for a cow.
Yeah. I notice a lot of people that when they have that kind of, not influence, can't think of the word, like where they want animals, all the animals all the time as a kid, they're the ones that seem to get into the farming and homesteading background. Because we had a couple cats and a dog growing up, but I wanted everything. I wanted the pigs, I wanted the chickens, and my parents were like, nope, we have a cat, we have a dog, that's it, that's all you're getting. So, and now I've got everything that I can actually want. And more than I could want.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you actually get into dairy sheep, or into sheep, and specifically dairy sheep?
So way back in the day, before we had animals, when we were kind of just newlyweds, we're starting out, well, a little past newlyweds, but we had really young kids. I was I think I was pregnant with my second, and my husband started talking to me about, he started reading about the food system and the problems therein. And the more we read about it, the more we were like, I don't want to feed my kids this. You know what I mean? That's not what I want for my children. And I grew up with a very cooking family. We weren't like fast food people. And so I kind of leaned into what kind of food do we want for our kids? And then we had to start researching animals. Everyone starts with chickens, and that's great, as you should. They're wonderful. But researching into what livestock I wanted, what would be the most beneficial for us, sheep just kept coming up. They're so versatile, and I needed something that I could handle and I could have with little kids. And cows are great. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. But if a cow gets scared or wily and flips around, it could smash you. You know, it could break your foot. It could break your arm. You could die. And little kids and cows to me seemed like a thumbs down. So I needed something that would work better for our family. And so I started looking into goats and sheep. And the more I looked into it, I thought, why are people going for goats? Because sheep have more benefits to them. And so that's kind of where that began. So we started looking into it more, and I am not able to digest like cow milk. I've had issues with dairy my whole life. Like when we were little, we would get ear infections because we were allergic to it. And then I didn't realize I had problems with dairy until I was like graduating high school. I felt like I was going to throw up all the time. And I was like, well, what do? You know, you just don't, you don't think about it. You're a teenager and you're like, well, some days I want to throw up. Some days I make it, whatever. And so then leaning into the allergy side of it. And then I had tried goat milk from the grocery store, which I know is different. Everyone's like, is goat milk good? Blah, blah, blah. Goat milk from the grocery store to me, bottom of the barrel. It's not good. And so I tried that and I thought, this is revolting. This is not what I want. I don't want to milk an animal and put all this effort into it if I don't like it. And so trying to find those products and trying to figure out what we wanted, I tried sheep yogurt. It was the only thing I could find that was a sheep product. I found sheep cheese, but you can't find sheep milk in the grocery store. You just can't. Okay. And so I tried sheep yogurt and I thought, I like this. I can digest it. This is a step for me. This is huge. So then we started trying lamb. I started buying ground lamb and stuff like that, like the cheapest lamb, to try to see if that was something, because I'm not going to get an animal unless I love all the products it makes, because that's useless for me. So I tried lamb. I loved it. My kids loved it. I made these little lamb meatballs and I would, be cooking them. And then the kids would try to distract me and they'd run in the kitchen and eat them out of the pan. And I'm like, stop it. I'm trying to make dinner, So I knew they liked them. And so going through that, and I had grand expectations that I would also use the wool. That's hilarious. But that is not happening.
I totally get it. I was the same way. I'm like, oh, I can use this. And that went away.
I took a knitting class. I was like, I've got this. I do not got this. No. So no knitting for me. But I can knit, but I've got bags of wool that I'm just like, someday I will be that person. Today's not the day. So so we landed on sheep pretty hard. And then I got a really good deal on my first 2 sheep that were Katahdin Dorper crosses, so a meat breed. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to milk them. It's going to be fine. I got to start somewhere. So that's where I started. So we started there. Then we moved up to the dairy line. And now we've got the 2 lines, and I love sheep milk. It's fantastic. My kids love it. It's magic. So that's kind of how we steered in the direction of dairy sheep.
Okay. And so you still have like your Katahdins. What kind of breeds do you have? Just the Katahdins and the Dorpers for your meat?
So the Katahdin Dorper cross is my meat line. And then for the dairy line, I have my ram that you know very well.
Yes.
The Lacan cross. Is that how you say it?
Lacoon. Lacane. I never say it right.
I'm not going to say it right either. It's that cross. And then my main dairy ewe, she has a little bit of fin in her, and East Frisian, mostly East Frisian. You can tell by like her structure and her tail and stuff, but her wool is just a little longer. It's got a little bit of that fin wool, but she's not little. She's really tall. She looks East Frisian. So the mix, the thing I love about her is she has just this wonderful bag. It's soft. It's wonderful dairy skin. She's caked to milk out. Her body structure is just right. She's leggy. She's a great mom, all the things. And then my dairy ram brings a little bit, just a slightly bigger body structure, but then he also brings more milk capacity. Okay. So I keep or sell for breeders all of their daughters because they are just 10 out of 10. They're so good. Their bags are just so, like, if you don't hand milk, it doesn't matter as much.
Right.
But if you hand milk, that texture to the bag and the softness and the stretchy skin and the capacity, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I started with the hand milking and ended up going to, we have a barn and all the machines and stuff now, but I do remember, and you have to make sure you do really have a good udder on those sheep because it can be kind of disheartening if you're trying to milk and you can't, because either it's too small or she won't let down her milk or her bag is just awful. I absolutely get it. So are you actually milking all your sheep now, or are you still in like planning stages for getting bigger and doing more? Or is it just for like you and your family?
It's kind of both. Right now I milk. I've only got one ewe in milk because we're not supposed to start lambing till May. And I had 2 girls that got tagged by ram lambs that got out. And so they gave birth at the end of January. And I was like, girls, no, that is not what we were doing. And and then I thought, okay, I knew they were going to lamb. And I thought, you know what? It was a little ram lamb. They're not going to have very many. One had twins. One had 5. And I'm like, 5? No, not 5. I don't want 7 lambs out of the 2 of you. This is ridiculous. So, so I'm milking a goat and I'm milking a ewe. We try to have a dairy goat situation only for backup bottle babies.
Okay.
That's generally what that's for.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask, if you were doing anything with your goat milk or if it was just as replacement milk.
Just replacement. So the sheep milk, I have a cousin, I have a couple other people that are really interested in having the sheep milk. I have a cousin who has allergies to everything. That poor girl, I think she's allergic to air. She just bless her. So she tried sheep milk the first time because I thought sheep and lamb are your most allergy friendly in a lot of senses. And so I thought, give it a try. And she tried it and she thought it was delicious, of course, because it is. And then she didn't have any reactions to it, which is pretty much a miracle. So she even saved for her birthday. She froze a little baggie of it and then like thawed it out. And that's what she had for her birthday instead of cake, which is sad, but she was thrilled with it. So whatever. So that's mainly what I'm doing it for.
Yeah. And at least she got some use out of it. So that's always good.
Yeah. So right now we're having sheep milk for us. And like last season, I was milking 4 ewes and a goat. So I had 5 animals I was hand milking every morning. We do a lamb share. So the lambs are just separated. They get a bottle sometimes in the morning, milk out the moms, and then everyone goes out and they're in the pasture and playing all day and they have fun. So, so we have plenty of milk from those girls. And then there are some people, especially those with allergies. That's kind of where I'm veering off to. I might make cheese or something later on, but just to have that option when you, and sometimes people have a lot of allergy situations and then they can actually heal themselves and get out of it. But you're usually pulled back and so restricted at that point on what you can digest. And my heart really goes out to people in that situation. That's so difficult. Right. And to find something that's delicious and feels like it's healing you and all the things, that's a win. So that's kind of where my target is helping people with those allergies.
Okay, so eventually, right now you're just milking for you and your family, and then eventually you do want to move into like bottled milk for people or cheese or?
Yes, probably bottled milk.
Okay.
Because that's usually for the couple people I know, I'm giving them a bottle of milk.
Right.
Like a mason jar.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then do you plan to do anything else with your milk other than the bottling it and maybe making cheese?
I thought I might make cheese, but I'm kind of on the fence on that. I do like the meat sales. I like that people try my lamb and they say that's the best lamb I've ever had. That's what I like. I want the best milk you've ever had. I want the best meat you've ever had. I want all the best food. That's what I want.
Okay. So milking the sheep and selling the milk eventually. Mm-hmm. What other stuff on your homestead are you doing? Is that the only thing you plan to do, or do you do like flowers or vegetables or any of that kind of stuff too for people?
I don't think I would ever get into, I've gardened a little, mostly for us. I don't think that's something I'm passionate enough about that I'd like to do that. With the sheep, they're our main focus. And so the milk and the meat from the sheep is pretty much our only big venture from the homestead that we would lean into.
Okay. And I get
Some
that.
People want rabbit meat, but I don't know if we'll do that.
Okay. And chickens, same, just not worried about like doing chickens and eggs and that kind of thing.
We give eggs to people, but am I ever going to do an egg business? Absolutely not. That's not my thing. We pay way too much for organic chicken feed. I'm not selling them to people for $2. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I sometimes you just got to keep the main thing. So
yeah,
that's with us. We don't, I have chickens, I have quail, but we do not. Those are just for my entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Chickens are great, but they're not going to be my breadwinners ever.
Right.
Oh, I had a question for you, actually. So
sure.
When I got started in sheep and farming and homesteading and that kind of thing, there were a couple surprises, like chickens. When we were talking about chickens, we were like, yeah, you feed them and you do this and pretty much just get free eggs all the time. What ignorance. What were we thinking? Like you look into them more and you get it, but right at first you're just like,
yes,
this is going to be like free magic. No, it is not.
Yeah.
So
no, they're so easy and just, throw some feed to them and away you go. It's like,
and
I wish it was that easy,
but we didn't realize when you set up, you're like, okay, we're just going to buy them some chicken feed. It's not that much. But when you want specific chicken feed, when you want specific this or that, the price goes up so much. Those eggs are just little gold nuggets pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and then feeding them all winter, so painful.
Yeah. So they don't do anything.
No.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you can put like a light in with chickens, but I've heard that's really bad to keep them laying year round.
Yep.
So, you know, I've never
We don't do
bothered.
it.
I just figured, yeah, I just won't eat eggs all winter.
Yep. Or we'll try to like get a couple frozen. We've tried that. That's a terrible
Yeah.
plan, by the way. Don't do that.
Okay. I've never tried to freeze them. I would. My goal, if I can ever convince my husband, is to get a freeze dryer. That way I can
Oh,
freeze
yeah.
eggs. I can freeze dry milk. I can freeze dry the colostrum from my ewes, because a lot of times if I milk them, it'll go right into the freezer, and then 4 years later I'll find it in the back and it's like, oh, that's where that went. So yeah, I that's my ultimate goal, but I haven't convinced my husband yet that I need one.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it. I think every homesteader in this era is like, do we need a freeze dryer? Because you have to preserve things. You have to keep them going, and it's hard. And the freezer space right now, I've been milking the goat that I have for backup because I know lambing's coming. I know we have high multiple genetics on our dairy side, and my girls are looking large, and I'm like, oh no. And so I have so many gallons of just frozen in the freezer. Who knows what's coming?
Exactly. Yeah, I thankfully don't have that problem. I have made sure my ewes are not that prolific. It is not a bad problem to have, but I think I would be so overwhelmed. I watch your posts and you're like, oh yeah, she had 4 this time, and last year she had 5, and I'm like, I can barely handle 2.
Yeah, it's crazy. I honestly thought Betty was just going to keep upping it every year because she had triplets, quads, 5. And then I thought, and I talked to her. I'm sitting there with her. And I'm like, Betty, we can't do 6 lambs. It's insanity. Let's go back to triplets. You can raise triplets by yourself. You got plenty of milk. You can do it. And then she had quads. And then there was a girl, because they're Betty Lafayette babies. There was a girl in Boise who was like, if you have good breeders, I'll take them. So she had 3 girls out of the 4. So she bought 2 little bottle girls, and they are so cute. They're so lovey. They're wonderful. So that's what I like. And I want to have sheep for other homesteaders. I'm like, these are good to milk. They have good genetics here. That's what I like, you know?
Yeah.
They're hardy.
Yeah. And where so are you trying to grow your flock, or are you just kind of holding steady where you're at and then just sell everything?
I'm trying to see what genetics I want. I love the Lafayette Betty genetics, but now that I keep their daughters, I think, do I need to AI? And I wanted to learn to AI, and I worked on that for a couple years, trying to get in with a vet. My husband joked about turning an old ambulance. You can buy used ambulances, and then they have all the cupboards and everything. He's like, we could make this into a sheep AI station. And I was like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And we were set on it. But one of the vets I talked to was like, I need equipment from this guy. And then this guy didn't want an equipment share, and back and forth and back and forth. And then trying to get a vet on the phone to talk about your sheep AI program is so close to impossible.
Yeah.
And they're like, check back with me in a month. Check back with me in a month. And I'm like,
yeah, I don't have a month. I need to do it now.
Yeah. So every year I've been trying to figure out what I'm doing. And I still don't know. Do I want to do sheep AI at this point? Should I give up? I don't know where I'm at that, but.
Yeah. So I know the guy that used to come do our sheep for AI, and this was back in 2019, 18. Yeah, I can't remember now exactly. I think it was 2019 was the last time we AI'd. And he came up from Nevada, I believe. And he would just make the rounds. He'd go Nevada, he'd go Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and then across to Montana, Wyoming, and back to Nevada. And I think he hit Utah too, now that I think about it. But yeah, and I only know personally, I mean, I'm sure there are other AI people out there, but personally, I
Not a
only
lot for
know,
sheep.
no, I only know one other person in Wisconsin, and she actually flies out from Wisconsin to Oregon to AI a farm out there and then flies back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't afford that.
No. See, and that's what I would like to do. I know I would like to be able to learn it and then offer it to people like me who have a
Right.
small flock and they just need some nice new genetics here and a little help here or something like that. And
Yes.
it's just because it is not, because it's done laparoscopically and it's a little more difficult and a little more invasive.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult. There's just a lot, but I would love to have that option in this area because more and more people are getting into sheep. And
Yes.
I have a friend who's borrowing my meat ram right now because I tested a flock, it's clean, and he has a closed flock, so it's fine.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to find rams to borrow. I borrowed a ram one time thinking he was clean, tested him, luckily sent him back in time, and he didn't breed any of my girls. And I sent him back, but he tested positive for, is it OPPV or CAE in sheep? I know one's goat, one's sheep, but they're the same thing.
I think it's OPP.
Okay. Anyway, he tested positive for that. And the weeks of waiting, because then I had to test my whole flock.
Sure.
And I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried and cried because I thought, I'm going to have to exterminate my whole flock. The whole thing, it's gone. Like all of everything is gone. And I lost it. I lost it. So now nothing comes on this farm until it's tested. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah,
we don't do a lot of testing because I have
so many
250 something sheep.
Yeah.
And so but yeah, I don't, just because I don't personally do it. I do have my rams tested, and I test anything that I milk every year. But for the majority of them, they just kind of live life. And I don't think it's a bad thing, especially when you have a small flock. If something were to happen to mine, I have enough that I can disperse if needed.
Yeah.
But when you only have 2 or 5 or 7,
even
it's
10,
really hard. Yeah, even 10. It's, it could wipe out everything, and they're not cheap to start over.
I even had a friend tell me one time, maybe you should just sell everything and wait till it's a better time and then get the sheep. And I'm like, I don't think you understand the genetics I have in this flock and how hard that is. Like my main dairy ewe I got from Oregon from a lady that was getting out of sheep. She was a bottle baby. She was the last one. And she's lovely. I can't just get on Craigslist and get that genetics.
Right.
That makeup back. And Lafayette, my dairy ram, he's part of my soul. I love him so much. Somebody actually offered to buy him the other day. And I was like,
oh, you're kidding.
What millions do you think you have that you could buy him from me? No, get out of here.
Right.
Absolutely not. That thing is worth its weight in gold, and he weighs a lot. So no, he's so big.
He did get a little chunky there, didn't he?
He's humongous.
He was so little.
He was, When I brought him home that night, I was laying with him on me because that was the only way he would be quiet. So I was laying on the floor like, please just sleep. Please just sleep. And I think I got 20 minutes of sleep. And then my daughter came upstairs in the morning and she goes, like, tears in her eyes upon seeing him. Mom, I love him. And I'm like, great, take him, because I'm losing my mind. Yes. So she raised him and brought him in the house all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yes. But you never pet your rams.
No, or bottle feed them.
Never, right. And never bottle feed them. And you just got to beat them to get them to be good rams. And I'm like, no.
And if you bottle feed them, you're irresponsible, by the way. Yes. You are just, oh man, some people are so passionate about it. And I'm like, I think it's individual. And they're like, absolutely not. And I'm like,
no.
I can call him to me and walk him like a dog.
Yes.
Are you
It
sure?
really is. It is about it's a respect. If you respect them, they'll respect you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know we laugh about it, you know, my husband and I are all the time, you know, because we're always petting our rams and loving on our rams. And so the joke is never pet your rams.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know people that have, you know, they've gotten hurt from rams. I mean, I've got butted by rams that I thought, you know, well, he'll never hurt me. And then I come in the winter looking like the abominable snowman, and they're like, we have no idea who you are. We're going to get you out of here. And so, you know, it's like, okay, that's my mistake. I wasn't wearing the clothes you normally see me in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just have a hard time with the people that don't take the time to
Mm-hmm.
take care of their rams. And I mean, there is not a ram on my farm I would have anybody that I would worry about anybody going up to.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, I have my meat ram. He's a treat. He's usually pretty good if you're like, back it down, and he's like,
right.
Yeah, she means it. And he was really, really, he was really scared when we got him. He was a few years old. Then he was really sweet. And then he was like, I can take you down. Because some of them just do. Some of them do.
They do. And I've heard meat sheep, especially the rams, are a lot more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had meat sheep, so I cannot speak to that as fact. But from the few people that I have talked to, you know, we have a big meat sheep producer in our area, and he's like, yep, we don't go anywhere without a stick in our hand if those rams are out.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's different from my world, but
my meat ram, I will go in the pasture with him. I'll walk up to him and I'll grab his horn really quick, and then I'll move him over to the fence and tie him to the fence so that he stays there while I'm doing what I need to do. So I don't have to watch him.
Yeah.
That's
a really good way to do things.
He usually won't come at you. But when he first turned, he was just in the main pasture with me, and he was like, he's watching me, and I'm like, why are you staring at me? And then he starts, and I'm like, no. And he came at me, and luckily, when you start doing, you understand that you can grab their nose and turn them really quick.
Right.
I mean that.
Right.
So he'd come at me, and I'd grab his nose really quick and flip it, and then he wouldn't get me. And he did it like 4 times. And I was like, okay, that's it. So the last time I grabbed his horns with everything I had, and he is so strong. And I just worked until we got into the barn, and I shoved him in a stall and locked him in. Because I was like, I don't know what to do with you right now. And I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I can't turn and run because you're faster than me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I do really think it is the individual ram.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and there's some ewes that are absolute turds.
Oh yeah.
I've had a couple that, you know, you always hear about the cow that will like stalk you along the fence line when she has a calf. I had a sheep that used to do that. And
really?
When this are Icelandics, and you know, this is like 10-ish years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she was an absolute sweetheart the rest of the time, but the minute she had a lamb, she would watch you the entire time you were in that pen, and if she thought you were getting too close, she'd take you.
Oh,
and that's the only time I've ever had a ewe do that. But it was kind of, they can be nasty.
Yeah, I've had them kind of push me with their face when I'm with their lambs. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Right.
But it's gentle, and they're just concerned. And usually it's like, because when you only have 10 ewes give birth or 5 ewes give birth, you try to be there for every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're up in the morning, you're trying to make sure you catch it. Last time when we had the 5, we wouldn't have had all 5 live if I wasn't there.
Right.
It just wouldn't have happened. One had wandered under the milking stand, and one was like and she's trying to just keep popping them out, and it's cold and it's January. And every time I think she's done, she spits out another one. And I'm like, for the love of fate. So, and then 2 of them got really cold. My kids understand the triage. So they're running in, they've got a blow dryer on them. We're doing all the things. So
sure.
I mean, yeah, it's different, but no, I haven't had an aggressive when they're giving birth. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully she was the only one we had and that we had to deal with. And she went down the road after I got a girl out of her who turned out to be a really good one. So thankfully that was not a hereditary trait.
Have you encountered like a lot of stereotyping when people know that you have livestock? I'm surprised at the amount that I've had.
Just the fact that you have sheep, or the fact that you have any livestock at all?
Any livestock at all. They're like, well, did you grow up with livestock? Well, no. Well, then how do you know what to do?
Okay.
Like, we live in a very information age, and people, I feel like people have painted such a picture of, and I hear it from other like YouTubers that I follow and stuff. They're like, oh, we get a lot of like hate comments that we're just city folk that don't know what we're doing and stuff. And I just think it seems so strange that in this day and age, we would think that anyone couldn't figure it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wondered if did you grow up with livestock then?
I did not. No, I didn't grow up with anything. Like I said, we had a dog and a couple cats, and that was it.
Oh, that's right.
And so I didn't, I had friends growing up that had dairies, they were dairy farmers with their families. And so I'd been around cows, I'd been around horses. We had a pig farm down the road. And so I've been around animals, but I never had any for myself until I got married and moved out here. And it was a learning experience. I learned very quickly how to dive through a fence when a cow was coming at you. But I hate cows. I know people love cattle, but I had my skull cracked open. Huh?
They're scary for sure. You had your skull cracked open?
Yes, I had my skull cracked open by a cow. And she was just another one of them wild ones. And that was about the time my husband decided maybe we should get out of cattle. And so we had bulls that my daughter would literally ride on. They were so docile and so tame. And I never got the stereotype, I think, because I kind of just slid into everything that my husband was doing, and him and his dad had been, they'd been farmers for, I think his dad all his life. He used to be a sheep farmer growing up, and then cattle and horses. And then, my husband, he just kind of took over helping with his dad and stuff. And I sort of just slid right in without any worries. But when I stopped doing my town job and I became the stay-at-home farmer, and that's when people kind of questioned, like, really, you're doing the farm work, you're taking care of the animals, well, is Rocky there all the time to help you? And I'm like, no.
I got a lot of that.
A 12-hour job. And so it's been more since I've stayed home and been the farmer that I've gotten the questioning looks and people that, oh, I'll bet that's fun for you. It's like, no, really, it is fun for me.
Yes. And I wonder, and I know that other people get that. So I wonder, where does that come from? Like, does it come from, like, you think of like a Hallmark movie, there's always like the city girl that's in her high heels and she's like, ew, I stepped in a cow patty or something. Right. She just had the wrong shoes on. Like, it's not like she can't figure stuff out. What are you talking about? But they always like mock that situation. And so I always wonder, like, how many other people get that? How many other people, even because my husband, and he just shared this with me recently, so it was on my mind. He talks about our homestead and stuff like that, and the stuff that I do specifically because I do most of it. like me pulling lambs and up all night with the lambs and all the things and and butchering because I butcher.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just think this is kind of broad and not for everybody, but I think women have greater attention to detail and better food safety in general than men do.
Yes.
And if it's going to be between the meat being safe and it's me and my husband, I'm the one that butchers. So
yes. And actually there's a couple of the dairymen out here by us that we were talking to them a few years ago, and they said if they have a man apply for a specific job or a woman apply for it, they will take the woman every time, because they are, especially like for the calves and stuff, for feeding the calves and she said they will hire women hands down, because they pay attention. You know, that calf's looking a little sick, we better do something. Whereas the guy would be like, yeah, he'll get up eventually.
Yes.
So there is something to be said for it.
Yes.
That there's a little bit more mothering instinct even for the animals, I think, than just your own kids.
Yes. Because like I'll go out and see a sheep and I'm like, she's getting close. And Adam's like, she looks the same. I'm like, she doesn't look the same. She doesn't look the same. And he doesn't see the little bits. He doesn't see the change of behavior and then I get people, they're like, oh, so Adam taught you how to farm.
Yes.
No. What? He grew up on a potato farm. You think he also just knows how to do sheep? What are you talking about? And then, oh, the people at work, I went to the Christmas party and they kind of told him individually afterwards, they expected me to be a very masculine woman.
Okay.
Because I butcher and do all the things. And I'm like, what stereotype are we having here? So that's why I was very curious. What stereotypes are you seeing as a woman, not in a like, where are the women kind of way, but just as a woman who does, because we do all the things. I mean, we're part of the farm. So I was wondering if you got any of those stereotypes.
Yeah, most definitely.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do. And it just makes you wonder that, you know, as much as, like you said, there's, you know, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram where all these females are out promoting their farms and their industry.
Yeah.
How people can still be quite so narrow-minded.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, that's my question. Like Sandy Brock is a beautiful woman, and I mean, she's not dolled up all the time, but when she'll go to town and she's real cute, she gets her hair done, all the things. And then, I mean, she runs a gazillion sheep, and I mean, not a gazillion, but to me, a gazillion sheep.
Right.
And does all the stuff. Yeah, I don't know. And I just find it so strange.
Yeah, and people still tear her down, and I'm like, I wish I could do what she does. You know, I definitely I'm not there yet, but it's she's
got a system.
Yes. Yeah. So it just makes you wonder. It's like, you know, I know men who couldn't do what she does or what you and I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, so why are we suddenly, you know, somebody else must have taught us. A man had to have taught us.
Yeah. Yeah. So your husband does it? No, really, I do it. Yeah. So he butchers? No, I actually butcher. Like it's so strange to get that. I just never thought I would get that. And I was like, is all your information coming from a Hallmark movie? Is that what's happening right now? And I I don't know.
Yeah. That's, and I will admit, my husband is really good. The first year my daughter went hunting, she ended up getting her elk, filled her tag. She was thrilled. He made her process her own elk, and she had a ball. I mean, she was in there, she was doing it, and she's like, yeah, Dad, I won't need you next time. It's like, okay. But
my oldest, when she was, I think she was like 11 or 12, maybe. She was pretty young. I had to butcher chickens. Adam was out of town. I always do them anyway, but I usually it's a family thing. And it was Mother's Day morning. He was gone. I had to butcher because there was a cop situation. Somebody called the cops on us for having chickens. It wasn't here, but it was a whole thing. And she goes, Mom, I'll do a couple of chickens for you. And I'm like, no, sweetie, it's fine. And she goes, Mom, I need to learn how. And I'm like, do you? Because, okay, whatever.
Right. But that's awesome that she wanted to.
I butchered a couple and she butchered a couple. And it's interesting, you know?
It's a good life skill to have because especially the way our world is, the more you can figure out to do on your own without, I don't want to say without a man's help, but without anybody else helping you, I think the better off you'll be.
My mom actually, she's a very different, not the same, not a homesteader, not anything like that. But she's like, Candice, if it all hits the fan and we're in trouble, she's like, I want to be in your wagon train because we will eat so well.
No, my mom's the same. She says, if everything goes bad, I'm going to figure out how to get to Idaho because I know you and Rocky will survive.
Yes. When COVID hit too, I thought, yeah, should we be scared? And because everyone's freaking out. And I was like,
right.
No, we're good. We've got food walking around all over. I'm going to make it.
That's exactly, everybody's running for toilet paper. And I'm like, I got woods. I'm good.
Yeah. We're covered. We got the bases covered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It definitely shows the different perspective in the farming and homesteading world compared to the rest of the world.
But then everyone goes back. Everyone panics, buys chickens, buys seeds. And then they're like, oh, we're done? Taco Bell. Yeah. And you're just like, wait, no, you were so close.
yes, you were almost there. But okay, so then where can people find you or get a hold of you? Want to follow you?
If you want to just put my email address, CandiceLeeSays@gmail.com, that's just fine. Okay. I don't really have an email for Cap Mountain Farms. So I would like to, but it's just not because I'm not selling a lot in a,
Right. So you just have your personal stuff, not a farm stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Are you going to do your YouTube?
So I talked to my husband about that after I talked to you. Because I thought, oh man, I would love to. So I go back and forth. What I've kind of heard is people saying that short content, like the shorts and reels and those little ones are the easiest to get into.
Right.
So that's kind of what I was thinking about. I was thinking maybe I should start getting into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because doing the YouTube, I spent so much time editing. And I wanted to put music in it. I wanted this and I wanted that. And I wanted certain angles and I would pull out the camera at the wrong time and I would miss stuff. And I'm like, I hate that.
Right.
And then I wasn't enjoying it as much. I can do the short content. I can do that.
Yeah.
I think.
Especially where you can just grab your phone and video for, 30 seconds of something that's going on. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to get into as soon as I'm really brave. Hopefully that's soon.
You're the one that pushed me to actually do more of the YouTube. Yes.
Oh, well, good for me. And then I slacked off.
You had told me, oh, you need to put this stuff on YouTube. You need to do this. And so that I started making them. You're like, no, you need to show your face. You need to talk to the camera. And I'm like, you are killing me. I don't want
and
to
now
show
I'm a hypocrite. I didn't do it.
And it all worked out.
Oh, I'm wicked. That's a shame.
Oh, but it was a good push. It was a good push.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much for being on here today.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me to it. It was really fun.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime soon.
Perfect.
Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as Candice and I enjoyed doing that interview. Like I said, it was from a couple months ago. It just, life got in the way and it took me this long to get it edited and uploaded, but it's done. It's done, it's uploaded, and I was very happy that she took the time out to talk to me about her sheep and her homestead. And I do hope she gets into selling her milk for those with the allergies like she wants to, because I think that is absolutely awesome that she wants to do, and I know she's going to do fabulous with anything she puts her mind to it, because she is an amazing person. That is going to be it for me today. As always, I appreciate you being here and thank you for your support. I would be ever so grateful if you would leave a review or share this podcast with your dairy sheep loving friends, anything to get the word out. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer. And if you want to follow the chaos around the farm, you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. If there are any topics you are interested in, or if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. You can reach me at hiddenhollowidaho@gmail.com. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll talk to you again next week.